everybody. Welcome to Justice Served Daily. Appreciate you all being here and have a lot of information to go over. And as you can tell, have information that is kind of tracking into additional states other than Indiana, and some interesting findings in some of them too. So want to say hello. Hello, Mama Bear, Phantom, Casey. Thank you guys for being here. And let me go ahead and start to pull up the information here. And there we go. Make sure you guys can see this. All right. Cassie. Is it Cassie pronounced instead of Casey? Tell me, Cassie. Thank you. Sorry about that. I was watching. All right. You guys won't believe this information. It is amazing how much is out there and what is getting busted. And I'm going to let you know this stuff. I just have a hard time keeping up with all of it. Because there are so many people that are busted, and I pay attention to the details of it to check for similarities. And as you know, in all the rest of the CSAM and pedophiles and stuff that I started doing shows on were ever since that Keegan Klein was busted in Indiana, and also to look at possible tracking any network and stuff that can be there. So that's kind of how that all began. So let's look at some of these people that we have found here. So we're going to start with Daniel Orr, 68, out of La Crosse, Indiana. He was arrested on charges of child exploitation as a result of the Internet Crimes Against Children through the Indiana State Police. And they received information from the Lafayette, Indiana Police Department. And it was a year-long investigation. That is the key thing to watch, guys. Lots of times when they get tips and stuff from it, it takes a while before they ever get busted, which is frustrating beyond belief. But they were involved because he was allegedly paying a minor for images and the nude images. The investigation led to this guy, and he was taken to LaPorte jail. He was charged with 1 count of child exploitation, a level 5 felony. Now, anybody who has been arrested, you'll see at the bottom right under their photo, if they were arrested or if they've already been sentenced, to the source of where this information came from, which is obviously Indiana State Police. And then if it's just an arrest and they haven't been convicted, please also note that all defendants are presumed innocent until and unless proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt in a court of law. So just want to make sure I say that. Kenneth Woods, 35, out of Indianapolis. He was sentenced, so he is a piece of crap. That's confirmed piece of crap. Convicted on June 29th in federal prison for child abuse. And this was out of District of Southern Indiana. And 235 months in federal prison after he pled guilty to distributing and receiving images and videos of child sexual abuse over the internet. In 2021, he was found with child sex abuse material on his Facebook account, Snapchat account, email, and cell phones. And according to the court documents, the CSAM material included abuse of infants and toddlers. I know it's disgusting, but I have to warn you about that kind of stuff out there. And he was previously convicted in 2021 in Citrus County, Florida, for 2 felony charges that were related to obscene communications with a minor and possession of a photograph depicting child sexual abuse. So he was already a convicted person of this. He decides to move to Indiana, and then they find this abuse of infants and toddlers on here, which is just beyond the worst you can think of, right? So the next guy they found was Philip Abel. He was 46 out of Newburgh, Indiana. He was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to possession of CSAM. And according to the court documents, on January 22nd of 2020, FBI agents executed a search warrant at Abel's home in Newburgh, Indiana. The law enforcement officers located and seized data storage disk. So think about that, a data storage disk and a custom-built desktop computer. Abel admitted that he had used a file-sharing program for the last 3 years to search for CSAM. And he stated he did not always look at the CSAM material, but would sometimes get a hankering for it and needed to satisfy that desire. He also admitted to first viewing child, basically CSAM while he was in college. Remember, he's 46. He used a peer-to-peer file sharing network to search for these types of files that he was interested in. And he engaged in a pattern of intentionally finding, downloading, viewing, and then deleting CSAM material. And the materials that he downloaded included visual depictions of sexual abuse of prepubescent children under 12 years of age. So, real winner. Said he's done this since college and he's 46. And it's just horrible. Peter James Nelson, 46, Wabash, Indiana. So they began an investigation because of a tip that came from NetMec that came to the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force by the Indiana State Police. It led to a search warrant on his residence in Wabash, Indiana. And after that, they located multiple electronic devices, and he was charged with possession of child pornography, 3 counts, level 5. So he was arrested. He hasn't been convicted yet, but obviously this tip came in, and they can move quickly when there's some type of tip. So sometimes they don't give us full data when he first is arrested. So then we've got Deshaun Burks. He's 30. He's out of Lafayette, Indiana. He was a former Lafayette high school teacher, charged with child seduction, sexual battery, charged with 15 counts, including 11 counts of child seduction and 4 counts of sexual battery in Tippecanoe County. He, he worked at Lafayette Jefferson High School. He was the teacher and the choir director. And the detective Hesher told the Tippecanoe County court officials that, and Lafayette Police Department began investigating him on September 28th of 2022 after police received a tip that a Lafayette School Corporation employee was sexually harassing and abusing female students. And during a group activity with students in January of 2022, he would detail about his sex life and discuss being an orgy with girls and having, sex. I'll just put that. You can read the rest. And using drugs. He's telling kids this, by the way. He's telling kids about this crap. So arrested, not charged yet, but choir director and Lafayette High School person. So then we've got Christopher Hultequist. He's 33, out of Couts, Indiana. In August of 22, investigators received more than 24 cyber tips from NetMech related to a specific phone number. And after a thorough investigations, detectives were granted a search warrant on his residence. So on June 19th, detectives served this warrant and at his residence, and they located that he had possession of CSAM, and he was taken into custody and transported to Porter County Jail. He had child exploitation 2 counts, a level 5 felony, and child exploitation 2 counts, a level 6 felony. So arrested, Indiana State Police again from the tip from NetMech. Joshua Johnson. Now, by the way, as we go through these, if you pay attention to some of the years these investigations happen, a lot of the ones that I've been recently finding that now will finally say that they have been convicted have very similar timelines to our Delphi case, which I found very interesting. A lot of these, and some that I haven't even got into yet, that will be on our next video. Like I said, I can't even keep up with all of them. But this guy on June 19th of 2023, the Indiana State Police arrested this Columbus, Indiana man on child exploitation charges. And it was in Bartholomew County. The Indiana State Police Post began the investigation in August of 2022 after a cyber tip was received from NetMech. Nearly a 10-month investigation executed. After this 10-month investigation, they executed the search warrant at his residence in Columbus. And during the execution of the search warrant, they found additional evidence that was collected. And he was taken into custody, incarcerated at Bartholomew County Jail. And so he had preliminary charges of child exploitation, dissemination of child pornography, level 5 felony, and child exploitation, possession of child pornography, level 6 felony. He will soon have an initial hearing in Bartholomew County, and they talked about the investigation is ongoing. And normally that's because they're probably looking for victims. We got Jacob Deck, 25 years old, of Marion, Indiana. This was a cyber tip that came from NetMech. And I love that. I love that because that means people are reporting cyber tips. And this was Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. After that, an arrest warrant and search warrant were obtained for him as in his residence. And he was located on Olive Street in Marion. They got him in custody. And once they took him in custody, and after they went through the search warrant, they located multiple electronic devices. And at the conclusion of that investigation, he had possession of child pornography 2 counts, level 5 felonies, and possession of child pornography, level 1 count, and a level 6 count. So, yeah. Then we have Mr. Stacy Ryan Goldman, 32, Evansville, Indiana. He was sentenced to 20 years. From August of 2016 and March of 2017, Stacy Goldman communicated with a 14-year-old girl via Facebook video chat sessions. The child lived in Wisconsin, and Goldman lived in Evansville, Indiana. And during the video chat sessions, Goldman discussed sexual activity with the girl and sent her videos of himself in sex acts. And Goldman also asked the child to send him sexually explicit material. In the interview with the FBI agents, Goldman admitted that he knew that the girl was a minor. He also admitted that on at least one occasion, he threatened to publicly post intimate pictures of the child online. So there's sextortion or blackmail, however you want to call it. The case was investigated by the FBI with assistance from the Wisconsin Rapids Police Department. This again shows you that here you have an Indiana man who is in the home of a, little 14-year-old girl that's up in Wisconsin. They don't have to be close by to be able to be doing this and exploiting children. Then we've got Avery Baldwell, 33. Of April of 23, Indiana State Police began investigation from a cyber tip, again from NetMech. It led to the search warrant being served on his residence in Ogden Street in Ashland, Indiana, with the assistance of Homeland Security. He had one count of possession of child pornography, level 6 felony. Now, this was arrest. All his full details are not in there, but it's a pretty big deal when Homeland Security is the one who comes out to get you. So I'm sure we'll probably hear more about this guy. So now we have Shane Williams. He's 46. He's out of Greenwood, Indiana. He is a former Southport and Greenwood teacher. He's accused of child molestation and charged with one count of child molestation and one count of dissemination of matter harmful to minors. He had previously been employed as a teacher at Southport High School from July 2021 through September of 2022, when he resigned, according to Perry Township Schools. Great Community School Corporation said that he worked there for 2 years before leaving in May of 2021. One of the girls said that she had been having inappropriate contact with Williams for the past 3 years. The encounters involved Williams having the girls watch pornographic videos on his phone. As he urged her to perform sex acts on him, he also showed her videos of him having sex, according to court documents. The girl also said Williams was trying to make everyone else believe that she was lying. A second juvenile told police that she was aware of the abuse and that Williams had tried to get her to engage in the same behavior, although she had told him no. Williams told both girls that the behavior was acceptable and implied it was normal. The first juvenile said the abuse started when she was about 9 years old and continued for years. Sometimes they played truth or dare, the girl said, and Williams had her dress up in lingerie at least once. Doesn't it make you sick to just hear what these son of a bitches do? And it's just like no freaking guilt. No guilt, no bad feelings about any of this crap. So we got Jeremy Miller. He's 46, out of Kokomo, Indiana. They began an investigation after receiving information on the possible whereabouts of Miller in Kokomo. So they were looking for him. He had an active warrant for 24 felony counts related to child sex crimes. Law enforcement officers went to the residence in Bunker Hill, Indiana, where Miller was located, and taken into custody without incident. Miller was arrested and transported to the Howard County Jail for the initial warrant of the following charges: child molestation, Class A felony, 14 counts; child molestation, Class B felony, 6 counts; sexual misconduct with a minor, and Class C felony, 4 counts. So we got Benjamin Covey, 43, of Eaton, Indiana. Muncie pedophile sentenced to 14 years in federal prison for distribution of CSAM via Kick. He was January 22 when they've got a tip of that received CSAM was being uploaded to instant messaging application by the username Boss Jangles, belonging to Benjamin Covey. That same day also discovered that he had been allowing juveniles to drink and show sexually explicit materials. That's incorrect right there, I can tell. When interviewed by IMPD, he admitted he used the account to join a group chat called Pedo for Kids. His cell phone was searched, finding 600 images depicting CSAM. Many of the images depicted prepubescent boys engaged in SA. One showing an image of an adult engaged in a sex act with a toddler. Oh, I can't. It's unbelievable. So we got Jasmine Marshall, 41, of Indianapolis, Indiana. Indianapolis woman was sentenced to 10 years in federal prison for possession of CSAM. Jasmine Marshall, formerly known as Wesley Marshall, has been a registered sex offender since 2011, after being convicted of possession of CSAM and sentenced to 3 years in the Indiana Department of Corrections. Marshall was charged again for possession of the CSAM in 2014 and was sentenced for 10 years in federal prison. But Marshall was released from federal prison in 2021 and ordered a lifetime supervision. So they go ahead and they let him off early. I'm sorry, her off early, because now Wesley Marshall is now saying he's Jasmine Marshall. They let him out of his 10-year sentence, but he's going to be on lifetime supervised release, which that really worked. Officers with IMPD assistance, federal prohibition, it should probably be probation, agenda in a search of apartments belonging to sex offenders in Indianapolis. And during the search of his apartment, they found a Motorola cell phone that was hidden in a bag in a closet floor, and he was downloading CSAM, which was hidden in a folder only accessible by a fingerprint. So, repeat offender, let out earlier from the finishing of his charges that he had before. He's in apartments that are for sex offenders in Indianapolis. They go to this random search, they find the shit on him, and he's got stuff again. I mean, why do they keep letting people out? I mean, once they go, you kind of feel like, okay, it's safe. They've got him, and then we're letting him out. So then we've got Tyrone Johnson here, 35, of Maryville, Indiana. A jury found him guilty of 2 counts of charges of repeatedly raping a young girl beginning when she was only 8. He videotaped at least a few of the encounters, superseding the indictment. Johnson was convicted of sexual exploitation of a minor for the purposes of producing and visual depiction while being required by law to register as a sex offender. So he was already a registered sex offender when he did this. There's been a lot of crimes that are the actual people who are the producers of the actual CSAM. And that is what they consider the highest level crime. They want to get the producers because they also want to save the kids that this is happening to. So they're very high priority. And they obviously get these people because they track down all of the CSAM that these other guys have. And then they keep tracking down till they can find and identify the victim. And then obviously figure out who this guy is. So he was supposed to be registered as a sex offender when he came to Indiana. He did not register as a sex offender. And then he's suddenly caught producing this CSAM. He hasn't been scheduled for sentencing yet, which is a separate order. It's supposed to be determined by the district court. And also because he has the federal statutes, which he didn't follow. The case was investigated by the Department of Homeland Security and with the assistance of the Indiana State Police, the Lake County, Indiana Sheriff's Department, the Peru, Illinois Police Department, the LaSalle County, Illinois Sheriff's Office, and the Illinois State Police Offender Registration Unit. Those are all who are involved with him. This is right there up in Northwest Indiana, very right close to Chicago. So we've got this Benjamin Jacob Seeger, 24. He's out of Evansville, Indiana. There was a cyber tip from NetMech for him. It led to his arrest in Vandenberg County for possession of child pornography and dissemination of it. The Indiana State Police Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force in Evansville began the investigation in January of 2023 after receiving a cyber tip from NetMech. And the cyber tip report indicated that a specific account was possibly used to transmit this child pornography images or video files. So the possession of child pornography where the child is under 12 years of age, which is a level 4 felony, had 2 counts of that. Possession of child pornography where the child is under 18 years of age, which is a level 5 felony, 2 counts of that. Vicarious sexual gratification, level 5 felony, 1 count of that. And child solicitation, a level 5 felony, 1 count of that. So arrested, not yet convicted. Stephanie Vazizka, 50, of Maryville, Indiana. Yes, she's a real great winner here. She's already sentenced, so she's already confirmed piece of crap as well. She pled guilty to distribution of child pornography. It's announced by the Northern District of Indiana attorney. She was sentenced to 84 months in prison and 5 years of supervised release. According to the documents filed in the case, on or about April 3rd of 2021, she distributed visual depictions of minors being utilized in sexually explicit conduct using a telecommunication application. The case was investigated by the United States Department of Homeland Security with the assistance from the Indiana State Police Department. The case was prosecuted by, and it tells you what attorney. Now, lots of info not put here. A lot that can be on purpose of where it was going to, who was she sharing it with, but another person out of Maryville, again, close to Chicago. All right, now these, as we go, you're going to be, maybe you won't be, but some of these may be surprise for you. Madison detective Kyle Davis, 37, out of Madison, Indiana. So an investigation led to the arrest of an on-duty Vevey Police Department, and according to the detective with Madison Police Department, he's charged with attempted child exploitation and attempted voyeurism on the Madison Police confirmed. Through months-long investigation led the detective Sean Scooter, police learned that Davis attempted to videotape an underage victim without her knowledge or consent. He was near the border over near Ohio, by the way, guys. So that's where he was when he was trying to do this. A friend of Davis who did not want to be identified said he was shocked by the allegations and thought he was a nice guy. The police officer is currently being held in Jefferson County Jail on a $100,000 cash bond, and he will be in court Friday as an ongoing investigation. So they caught him outside of a Ohio girl's home. Again, police officer. There you go. Still ongoing. Next guy, he's a councilman, a county councilman. Steve Sumner, 55, of Anderson, Indiana. Guess what, guys? He took off. That's why there's wanted over here on him. He was a former Madison County councilman who was accused of raping an underage girl in 2020. He's being sought by the police after he failed to show up for his appointed court date. Wow, they let him out and he didn't show up for court? Are we all shocked by that? I mean, we just let them have ways to get out of here and get away. According to the court records, former Councilman Steve Sumner, 55, was set to appear in Madison County Court on Thursday after failing to show. The court issued a warrant for Sumner's arrest. There are previous reports that detailed he resigned from his seat on the Madison County Council in May of 2021, several months after his charges were filed in December of 2022. So again, you got to watch some of these dates of these guys that we find some information out. The charging documents accuse Sumner of a litany of charges related to child sex crimes. Online court records show that he currently faces 15 felony charges that included child seduction, possession of child pornography, child molestation, and rape. 15 charges. Why was he let out until he has his court date? I mean, what more severe could be in that list of charges that he's got on there? Right? I mean, good God. Sumner was 52 years old when he was accused of molesting an underage girl in the early part of 2020. The victim told officers she attempted to resist by pushing and kicking him, court documents reveal. Images and videos of a young nude female, according to the document, was taken in 2019 and 2020. But they let him out. 15 felony charges, including child rape. And he's out. So he's wanted. Anybody knows Steve Sumner? Call the Indiana State Police. Just call 911. Tell him he's wanted. They'll get him. So we've got the next ones that I'm going to go through are unbelievable. You will not believe the ones that are found here. Okay. This one is a case about this Columbus. I don't even want to call him a man, but Columbus man. He offers a guilty plea for coercing minor girls nationwide into sending sexually explicit videos and images through various social media. So in the middle here, this is a picture of the guy, right? His last name is Sutherland, and he was used, which was used online, his photo here, and these two other images he used, right? So he had accounts, and then they wouldn't have his actual picture. It would have this image. And at first, the information was released out in the news. He's from Ohio. Now, if you watch any of the community page posts that I did, I had shared across the U.S. what the numbers are for reported cases by NetMec of missing children, and then which cases that they are still outstanding, right? So in Indiana, we have 66 still missing children. And that, is heartbreaking to me, of still unsolved 66 missing kids. Well, if you look next door on each side of Indiana, we got a problem, because Illinois has way more of that, over 100 and some in there. But Ohio is much worse than Illinois and Indiana. And Ohio is just east of us. And so that's why I kind of started paying attention to what was going on in Ohio. And like I said, I think it's 136 girls missing. It's posted up a community page if you want to find your local state and how many outstanding cases there still are. But anyway, so the local news in Ohio, even though I wasn't aware of this, posted about this guy right here being wanted, that nationwide he was sending images and getting images from girls through social media platforms using this picture of his profile and then these two images as well. They had on this one report that they asked anyone who believed that they were also a victim in this case to contact the FBI at 614-489-1765. Okay? So, what happened? All right, well, here's Michael T. Sutherland, 21. He's only 21 years old. He's from Columbus, Ohio. He offered a guilty plea. Okay? Now, what's interesting about this is this guy, that story that I showed you was done like November of 2019. They're announcing, if you've had any connection with them, contact the FBI. And remember, this is a nationwide thing, a nationwide guy who's been doing this crap. So if you remember, we covered in a previous show the guy in California who was busted, who had girls nationwide who he was contacting and communicating with, right? Well, that came across and that ended up hitting the Indiana media market also because they wanted more information nationally. So it was hitting all these different news channels nationally to find more girls. And it also hit Indiana because we were one of the largest areas that girls were targeted from and communicated with, specifically in Kokomo. Well, never heard of this guy. Didn't see anything come out of it. So it's released in November. They want more information about this guy. He's communicating nationwide. But then all of a sudden, in February of 2020, he received a sentence. Guess why? He makes a plea deal. So they didn't even have enough time to find out everybody he contacted nationally and whether he was contacting what kids in what states. So, they already knew when they got him that he had 4 crimes related to sexual exploitation of minors. And he chatted with the minor females located throughout the country on Instagram, Snapchat, and other social media sites and requested that the girls send him videos of themselves engaged in sexual acts. So he pleads guilty to 2 counts of coercing a minor and 2 counts of receiving child pornography. I want everybody to pay attention. If you heard me read at the top, he had 4. There were 4 minors. There were 4 girl minors. But he only pled guilty on his plea deal to 2 counts of coercing a minor and 2 counts of receiving child pornography, even though there were 4 girls. So Sutherland met minor females through Instagram, Snapchat, Kik, and Telegram, and coerced at least 4 12 to 15-year-old girls to engage in sexual activities on video. The forensic examination of Sutherland's phone and laptop confirmed that he had used social media to solicit minor girls for sexually explicit videos and images of themselves. Sutherland also used social media to request and trade child pornography. And review of his conversations with the girls show that he instructed the minors to call him daddy. This is a 21-year-old guy. He has nationwide stuff. We know he has 4 victims. Months later, he pleads guilty and they only charge him with 2. What is going on? Now, the plea deal, I'm sure, probably came from him sharing everything he knows, everything he's got, and all that kind of stuff. Because if they already knew that he was nationwide, he probably had information on somebody else. Now, I want you to pay attention to the dates. Again, he was busted in 2020. He was sentenced in 2020. A 21-year-old, Columbus, Ohio. Not very far away at all. So then we've got Matthew Hosteller, 26, of Greensburg, Indiana. He's sentenced to 25 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to sexual exploitation of a minor. On January 16th of 2020, a Winnebago County, Oklahoma sheriff's investigator uncovered his involvement in a Kick Messenger group chat created for individuals that are interested in CSAM. This holster guy hid behind the username Warrior Heart 1997 and sent graphic sexually abused videos and images of a then 11-year-old girl he referred to as Lola. On April 16th of 21, FBI agents and Greensburg Police Department officers executed a search warrant at his home and seized his cell phone. Many of the images that he traded over Kick were coerced from the minor via Snapchat. He bragged to other members of this group chat that it took 2 months to get to this point with her, meaning Lola. You got to be patient and kind and sweet. And she's in love with me. She literally jumps to do what I ask. This is a 26-year-old talking about a then 11-year-old girl and bragging about it in this chat with the same type of people that he is. So the Lola victim told investigators that she met him on the internet, and she told him that she was 13 years old and lived with her grandparents in Oklahoma. And he instructed her not to tell her grandparents that she was talking to him or that she would get in trouble. And Lola stated the holster routinely threatened her that if she did not send him sexually explicit images and videos, and further, he coached the 11-year-old on basically what to do. I'll put it that way, in the videos he wanted. Sick. They share info of how they get this done. All right, so now we come to the next two big things I'll be telling you about. This one is out of Ohio. 9 were arrested and charged federally in a connection with a human trafficking, but basically child sex trafficking operation involving drugs exchanged for sexual access to children. Federal grand jury had indicted a Scioto County man and several of his family members. His family members and associates were with charges related to child sex trafficking operation. The man allegedly exchanged drugs obtained in Columbus and elsewhere for sexual access to children of drug-addicted mothers. So his name is Larry Dean Porter, 69, of Wheelersburg, Ohio. You'll see more info on him on the next slides. According to the court documents that were unsealed, the agents with the FBI Chattanooga Station Task Force began investigating him in April of 2019. Following reports from several sources that Porter was involved in sexually abusing male and female minors with consent of the minor's parents in exchange for illegal drugs from him. In March of 2020, Porter was arrested on local charges during a human trafficking sting operation by Jackson County Sheriff's Office. Can I just say this? I don't know why, and I copy, the information because I want to make sure that it's correct of what's being shared from the sources that I have. But I'm always curious why they'll say human trafficking in articles instead of child sex trafficking, right? So in Facebook messages, he coordinated coordinated by law enforcement. Porter allegedly offered to pay $80 in exchange for access to a 7-year-old girl. He was arrested after arriving at a prearranged meeting location and allegedly stating that he would be done around midnight and could return the girl then. According to the victims and sources in the ongoing investigation by the FBI and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigations, Porter sexually abused children and produced child pornography kept on flash drives that Porter used extreme measures to conceal. He would give illegal narcotics to drug-addicted parents in exchange for the sexual access to the minor victims. It is alleged he often instructed the parents to sexually abuse their own children and recorded it to use as blackmail. So here's that frickin' winner right there, right? Additionally, according to the criminal complaint, Larry Porter made numerous recorded phone calls and mailed 3 letters while he was incarcerated in Jackson County in an attempt to have his family members and associates lie under oath. And he was under to convince other witnesses to lie to law enforcement or to convince sources not to provide information to law enforcement. Porter is charged with 13-count indictment with conspiracy to sex traffic children, 15 years up to life in prison. Attempting to sex traffic children, 15 years up to life. Producing child pornography, 15 to 30 years. Possessing child pornography, up to 10 years. Conspiring to obstruct a child sex trafficking investigation, up to 25 years. And conspiracy to witness tamper, up to 20 years. So here goes through all the family members that they got from him that will just shock you, and some interesting figures, okay? So, excuse me. It is alleged that in the days immediately following Porter's arrest in Jackson County, two of his daughters, and so that's Dina Sue Porter, 32, who was in Wheelersburg, like he was in Ohio, and then Krista D. Porter, who's 39, of Columbus, Ohio, right? And then 2 of his friends were seen making numerous trips to Porter's residence and property. So Dina Sue and Krista D. Porter, the daughters, were seen digging holes in the ground on the property. So on March 20th, 2022, officers and agents searched the area in which the daughters were seen digging. They discovered an SD memory card buried inside a glass jar. Court documents allege that the memory card contained images of child pornography taken in Porter's bedroom. Isn't that odd to hear about that they decide that when they're going to hide it, they start digging holes in the backyard and have these SD cards back there, and they put them inside jars so that they can, get back to them again. So then Dina Porter, again a daughter, is charged with conspiracy to obstruct a child sex trafficking investigation, up to 25 years, destroying or removing evidence, up to 5 years, and making false statements to law enforcement, up to 8 years. Crystal Porter, another daughter, is charged with conspiring to obstruct a child sex trafficking investigation, up to 25 years, destroying and removing evidence, up to 5 years, and making false statements to law enforcement, up to 8 years. Porter associates Frank E. Andrews, 68, of Wheelersburg, Ohio, also, and W. David Cole, 62, of Portsmouth, Ohio, are also seen on the property. I want to point out, though, as I move on, that he'd been doing this for decades. So this isn't like a new thing, or he just started doing this. So here's his, friends, his associates. So Frank Andrews is charged with conspiracy to sex traffic children, up to 15 years to life. Possessing child pornography involving a prepubescent child, up to 20 years. conspiring to obstruct a child sex trafficking investigation up to 25 years, and destroying or removing evidence up to 5 years. Agents recovered 8 DVDs from Andrews' residence that contained multiple videos of child pornography. Forensic evidence indicated that the file titles matched those on Porter's computer. So obviously they're sharing images together. So then we've got David Cole, who's 62, is charged with conspiring to sex traffic children, 15 years to life. Conspiring to obstruct a child sex trafficking investigation up to 25 years, and destroying or removing evidence up to 5 years. Facebook messages allegedly show a conversation between Cole and Porter discussing child sex trafficking victims. Cole also allegedly removed and destroyed evidence from Porter's home. So now we're going to go into some more family members that were involved. So we've got Enroll Wayne Porter, but they call Enroll Wayne Porter, but he goes by Wayne Sr., 69, of Wheelersburg, Ohio, also, and Joshua David Aldridge. He's 36, out of South Webster, Ohio. So Wayne Porter, during a recorded jail call, Porter asked him, his cousin, Wayne, 69, of Wheelersburg, discussed an individual they believed was a source for law enforcement. Wayne Porter said that he's got some things working there, trying to take him down. In a later call, Porter told Wayne, go out and make sure that idiot don't do something. If you have to put a slug in that son of a bitch. So he's planning somebody's murder. So Wayne Porter is charged with a conspiracy to obstruct a child sex trafficking investigation, 25 years, and conspiring to tamper with a witness, 20 years. Isn't that interesting? To up to 25 years for obstruction of the investigation, but only 20 years of that he's going to tamper with a witness, which their tampering of a witness is they're going to put a slug in him. Is that wrong, or am I reading this, like taking this the wrong way? Joshua Aldridge, he's 36, of South Webster, Ohio, is charged with conspiracy to sex traffic children, 15 years up to life in prison, and sex trafficking children, 15 years up to life in prison. So then we've got some more winners. This is Charity Ann Rollins. She's 41, of South Webster, Ohio, and Ronnie Rollins, 47, of Oak Hill, Ohio. Charity Ann Rollins, 41, of South Webster, and Ronnie L. Rollins, 47, of Oak Hill, Ohio, are also charged with conspiracy to sex traffic children, 15 years up to life in prison, and sex trafficking children, 15 years up to life in prison. The couple allegedly took a 7-year-old child to Porter's residence on a regular basis to traffic the child sexually in exchange for pills. For pills. God bless our kids. God help them. The couple allegedly did this. I mean, and it occurred a few times per week for 5 years. For 5 years. So the end of this information shows that there was a number of other adult women who allegedly were involved in conspiracy who will be charged locally. Well, I don't think so. We're going to talk about a couple of those that we found. By the way, here's his house. The authorities had taken the picture of his house where this child sex trafficking was going on. And that's where they had the access to the drugs. That's where he took the films and stuff in his bedroom. So here's a couple of the Mother of the Years. Catherine McMullen, 36, on the left, allegedly brought her 2 children to Larry Porter's home and also sexually abused them while there. So she participated in it. Megan Richmond, 32, on the right, allegedly allowed Porter to abuse her daughter in exchange for drugs. Great job, ladies. Then we have Tasha Stringer, 37, allegedly recruited another woman to bring her children to Larry Porter and told police that she performed sex acts on the kids at his request. So, yeah, I don't think so. So that was our group out of Ohio that just got busted. Now let me go to another group that turned out to be international. Operation Bacchus, international dark web pedophile ring. So almost 100 people in the United States and Australia have so far U.S. arrest 79 people linked to global pedophile ring that was busted after high-profile murders of 2 FBI agents in Florida in 2021. Australia detained 19 others and rescued 13 children. So this global pedophile ring had been busted by Australian police 2 years after the members of the network, a member of their network basically, murdered 2 FBI agents in a shootout in 2021. And then officials announced that the 79 men in the U.S. were arrested, and 43 have been convicted so far in connection with this global dark web network. So the police and the FBI closed in after these agents were killed when they were trying to execute a search warrant in Sunrise, Florida. So these are the 2 FBI agents that were killed going to the door to serve this search warrant on this guy for CSAM. And let me, here, hold on one second. Want to make sure that I have the right thing here. Oops. And I'm going to share this video with you guys real quick. Let me see. And let me know if you can hear this okay. When I start it, now, let's see.
Operation Bacchus kicked off in 2022 as a result of information that was provided by the FBI to the ACE in relation to Australian members of a peer-to-peer network allegedly sharing child abuse material online. This has been a complex investigation. Members of this network were using encryption and other methods to avoid law enforcement detection whilst they were sharing videos and files of child abuse material.
This operation was highly complex, and the FBI set 211 international lead packages to our countries. These lead packages included information needed by our international partners to bring justice to our children and to their families. Today, we celebrate the rescue of 13 children.
We assess that some of those offenders have potentially been committing offences for over 10 years. This is a peer-to-peer network, so obviously that's how we allege that these individuals were sharing child abuse material with each other. What I can advise is the majority of these individuals were experienced in ICT or in current ICT roles, so they had a higher level of technical competency. The longer people like this avoid detection, it means the longer the cycle of abuse continues. This was a sophisticated network. And while we have charged 19 people, the AFP and our partners do not rule out further arrests in relation to this matter.
So that was from that. And let me, oops. Hold on one second. Sorry about that, guys. I want to show you this other one. And hold on one second. Sorry about that. So as you look, they talk about there's going to be additional arrests and stuff like that that happen. And this is starting without me wanting it to. Don't do that. Okay, sorry. And let me go back to this. We'll show you about the FBI agents and what happened there that started this whole thing. That's just heartbreaking. Okay, let me know if you can hear this. Huh, I can't, so I'm sure you can't. It's not muted. How odd. Yeah, I don't know why I can't even hear it. Huh. Wow. Okay. Well, we won't worry about that. Sorry. It tells the story of the FBI agents going to the house, basically with all of them, and all of a sudden there is a shootout. They see him through the cameras, and that's how that they knew that the FBI were coming in there. So, which is, it's just so sad because these agents had worked so many years at crimes against children, and it was just heartbreaking. So this is the guy that they went to his door that started this all. David Lee Huber, 55, of Sunrise, Florida. We saw the FBI agents killed. They were killed in February of 2021 as they were trying to execute that search warrant. And it was an apartment. He's a divorced father of 2. He shot the agents with a rifle and then turned the gun on himself. So here is the apartment. We'll show you here where even after this happened, they continued to search the apartment, finding evidence, and that's what kind of led to the international investigation. This is a photo that was shared of one of the 19 men in Australia who were charged with connection of the global pedophile ring. So here is actual Operation Bacchus, using the investigation with Australian state and territory police, and this is what just that Florida shooting ended up happening, and it shows you the arrest and what they found and in what areas. Just scary. So the Australian Federal Police Agency said that the coordinated probe was formally launched in 22 after they got the information from the U.S. And basically him being part of a peer-to-peer network, sharing the child abuse material on the dark web. The Australian suspects were between the ages of 32 and 81 years old. The federal police agency said that so far, 2 have been totally sentenced completely. Most of the Australian suspects were employed in occupations that required a high degree of knowledge of internet networks, is what the agency said. And the members used software to anonymously share files and chat on message boards and access websites within the network. Some were also accused of having produced their own child abuse materials to share with members of the network. So members use the software to anonymously share files, chat on meeting message boards across websites within the network. The Australian Federal Police said the network members were able to search for and distribute images and videos of child sexual abuse materials and allegedly used encryption and other methods to avoid law enforcement detection. They said that they were proud of their longstanding relationship, resulting in these arrest of these 19 men, and that they were able to collaborate with the FBI. I will also, before I forget, the guy who was busted in Florida, by the way, they found information on that he had in his home in a booklet, How to Avoid the Police, and a booklet of what to do if you're caught. Now, I don't know if what to do to get caught was to shoot the FBI agents and then shoot yourself, because, you know, if you're going down because you're fixing to get busted, okay, well, good riddance, mister. But I don't know why, you have to take 2 FBI agents with you before this all happens. So the FBI stated that the complexity and enormity of these platforms means that no agency or country can fight these threats alone. And said he continued to build bridges through collaboration and teamwork. We can ensure the good guys win and the bad guys lose. She said that 43 people had been convicted of child sexual abuse offenses in the U.S. as part of the investigation, according to the Associated Press. Now, those are the ones that there's already convictions. There was obviously more arrests than that, as you saw. But the other part of this is the FBI had also alerted other countries to suspects within their jurisdictions. But the other countries of where this network reaches out to have not been shared at this time. We don't have those. So absolutely amazing that them taking down one guy from a tip suddenly leads to an international child petty ring. So the ones from the Indiana I wanted to show you because they started busting some really serious people in Indiana who are involved with the production of that. There are way more. I mean, I almost need maybe 2 assistants to just be typing up to keep track of all of them, because I watch them and keep track of them as they come down. As you know, I report these to people even before they've been sentenced, because to be honest with you, we never know what happens, whether they're going to get sentenced, whether they're going to be released, or whatever is going on with them. And I've had people who have seen people that they know and they didn't realize got tipped in, and they're friends of the family or whatever. And that's why that's important. I think that there's the risk of stuff going on, more things going on in the neighboring states also. Like I said, Indiana, you think of, how bad it is. Well, we have 66 unresolved missing children, but we're talking about basically like over 300 missing children if you add Ohio and Illinois together, because of how many that they have going on. And I feel like there's something there. And obviously, with us finding a child sex trafficking group going on in Ohio, we find a 21-year-old who is communicating nationwide. All of a sudden, they're trying to get information to the FBI, but then a few months later, they give him a plea deal. And instead of just going ahead and him being charged with all 4 of the minors that he did something to, he's only charged with 2. He's got to be talking. There's got to be stuff that's being shared and exposed out on that. And then this one guy who unfortunately kills 2 heroes of the FBI who are out there getting these types of criminals for us, and then they're murdered. But their work sits around and finds out and saves children in the US because they arrest so many there. And then also all the way to Australia. And Australia said they have possible more arrests that are going to be coming, as well as in different countries. So that's important because these need to be reported, and need to speak up and to know that, kids aren't alone. This is the cyber tip line and the 1-800 number that you can make a cyber tip. If somebody's been contacted asking for images, if somebody is blackmailing or sextorting someone or your child, that you can contact to make a report, a child molestation case, anything like that. These can be reported 24/7 to this cyber tip information. So, I will continue always to try to provide you guys with the information ahead of time, even when these guys are, arrested, because there is a huge increase for that. And we need to watch them. And I think a lot of these can be related in some of these cases. So I have a lot more in Indiana that have been taken down for production and stuff. Those are probably the longest ones it takes me to make a video for, because of trying to get the info and seeing what happens with some of these guys. The other thing is that I keep a spreadsheet on all of them, that if one day we do hear about the next child ring that is busted in Indiana, then I can look through that list and see who is connected. Some who I suspect a connection with, but I don't know for sure, so I can't just throw that out there for you. I do want to share that on Sunday we will be doing a live. It's going to be on the Long Island serial killer and a big connection that we have found, and I've been looking at and going through, and we'll have some information up on that. I don't think you want to miss it. I think it's very relatable in what the serial killer was using. So if you want to see that and hear that discussion, please look for a show coming up on Sunday. We'd love to have you here. And thank you everybody for being here. Brunhel, I see you. Phantom, hello. Mama Bear, Kelt. I see you guys. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry, I'm trying to glance through. Ray Jones, hello, how you doing? So I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to keep reporting and telling you about these guys, about what they're doing. They share best practices together. They share information together. And I want to make sure I share them with you, for you guys know how to protect your kids, how to watch your kids, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews, whatever the case may be, and to be able to protect them that way. So I appreciate all of you. Please make sure, I'll remember to do this. Please make sure to please subscribe and hit that like button. We are, I'm not a monetized channel. The only things I get my thrills and stuff out of are having the people who come subscribe and learn more about what is going on. But like I said, Sunday we'll be doing a show. And Sunday I will be doing a drawing as well for a giveaway to the subscribers. So I hope you're going to be there for that too. So thank you so much, guys, for being here. And thank you for making sure that justice is served daily. Good night, everybody.